Thank you. Policing in London is the operational responsibility of the Met Police Service and the Commissioner. The MPS has informed me that on the afternoon of Friday, 21st of July, police officers from the Safer Neighbourhoods teams across Hackney, along with the Hackney Town Centre teams, conducted 8 simultaneous searches of business premises contained within the Ridley Road Market. Each of these searches were covered by an individual warrant issued under the Misuse of Drugs Act. The police made 6 arrests for drug offences and seized a large quantity of drugs. All 6 individuals were additionally arrested for possessing offensive weapons. I understand that the operation was conducted following growing concerns from residents about drugs in the local area. The Hackney Safer Neighbourhoods Inspector spoke to Save the Ridley Road Market campaigners, Hackney Council and local councillors to address their concerns. The MPS Safer Neighbourhoods teams are committed to responding to concerns from residents and communities about antisocial behaviour and crime issues that occur in their wards. This local policing operation was an example of the action the MPS is committed to taking in response to these genuine community concerns. Following the searches, Ridley Road has seen an increase in presence from Hackney neighbourhood officers. As well as providing reassurance, this approach aims to keep local people in touch with their police following an incident like this. In more general terms, the police play a vital role in tackling serious crime, and both the Commissioner and I are committed to strengthening the Met Police Service response to the organised criminals behind the drugs trade, drug-related violence, neighbourhood crime and antisocial behaviour. Local policing is particularly important in this regard, and the Commissioner's new Met for London plan aims to provide the strongest ever neighbourhood policing. This sets out how neighbourhood policing will be reinforced, including by working more closely with communities and partners to address their local concerns. This is one part of a series of reforms to the MPS being led by Sir Mark as Commissioner to ensure Londoners have the police service they deserve.
Thank you. I want to really look at the very human impact this raid has had on the communities. Now, Ridley Road Market has been there since the 1880s. It initially served Jewish communities, and then as times have changed, now serves or is run more by diverse black communities. Now, when I went there last week with local ward councillor Zoe Garbett, we went to speak to the traders so I could hear them, hear the stories for myself. And they spoke about everyone getting handcuffed, whether you're a worker, whether you're someone who was just in the shop. They talked about people who were just near the shops, who were physically restrained and handcuffed. Some of these people were handcuffed for hours. And when they talk about what this raid was like, traders I spoke to said, and I quote, "The police vandalised the place, they said the raid was traumatising, and they said it was brutal." What do you make of these reports?
Well, Chair, I'm not sure I can comment on an operational matter where the member rightly is raising issues raised by some of the residents and traders, but it really is a matter for also understanding what the police perspective is, which I simply, more than what I've set out, I don't know. If you just imagine the number of operations taking place across our city, as I understand it, arrests have been made, investigations are ongoing. I can't really comment about the specifics about how people were treated or mistreated.
Yeah, I'm understanding you can't speak about the specifics, but I'm just talking about this in the wider perspective of the local community and the impact that they feel that this has had on them. The point is there's a total disconnect between what the Met thinks is good for the community and what the community knows is good for them. And as well as the traumatising and brutal actions of the police that day, this has also had a real effect on trade too. They've said that people are scared to come back to the market. Lots of customers they've just not seen again since that raid happened. And they don't feel like this has come out of the blue. This is a wider systemic issue of gentrification, of systemic racism in our institutions, and just a real mistrust in both in politicians and in the police. And they don't feel that people understand their community or are willing to fight for it. Do you understand the wider impact this raid has had on the community, and do you think the Met does too?
Well, I'm well aware whenever there's a high visibility police incident, it could be a stop and search, it could be an arrest, it could be a raid. It is distressing, not just for the person involved, but for people watching. I want to say in a respectful way, I just don't know enough about what happened in Ridley Road Market, is often when you're a member of the public and you're traumatised, you don't know the full story. And one of the things that this Commission has tried to do is to, go and engage with communities, listen and respond. I think there has been 32 roadshows, many of them led by the Commissioner, just doing just that, because he's cognizant of the impact of some policing matters. So, and so I can't talk to the context of the trauma to those around Ridley Road Market, but of course I appreciate, policing by definition has an impact negatively on individuals and others. My understanding from what I've read out and from the briefing I've received is that the warrants that were obtained from the magistrate were obtained as a consequence of concerns raised by members of the community about criminality. That's what led to a warrants being obtained. There was the execution of the warrants, and now we'll have to wait and see how the criminal process pans out.
Thank you. I appreciate what you just said here, that you're recognising the trauma that this has had on some community members, and many of those members have now not been convicted of a crime and are not, were never suspected of a crime. And you also said that there's more officers, neighbourhood officers turning up, but actually officers are not reassuring to these people. That visibility is actually making the trauma worse. Would you commit to going, or to commit Deputy Mayor Debbie Weeks-Bernard to go and speak to the traders, just to be able to reassure them and hear their side of the story? Because I appreciate you can't know the specifics, but how will you ever know them unless you have these conversations?
Well, listen, I'm very happy for the Met Police Service, City Hall, to look into this matter. Just word of caution.
The police service are the problem here. That's what I'm saying. They'd like to speak to people who are not part of the police service.
Just a word of caution. I mean, it's simply not practical for the Deputy Mayor, me, or the Commissioner to go and respond to every single time there's a concern raised from members of the
So they're not important enough.
I'm afraid the Green Group is now out of time. I apologise.